Hey guys, welcome to another Jamaican Tales video, a Jamaican living in Germany. And first of all, Happy New Year! I went home over the holidays to visit my family in Jamaica, well, to surprise my family in Jamaica. Going back home was an amazing feeling. Seeing my family members, seeing my friends, being back at the place that I've spent most of my life, 24 out of the 30 years of my life. Feeling of being at home was overwhelming. Eating foods that I was familiar with. We're going to the beach, going to the river, going to the mountains, doing this, doing that. It's just a feeling of being home. You just can't describe it. You just feel happy. You're thankful. You're with the people that you love and the people that you care about. But at the same time, it was frustrating. And there are three main things that made this experience, being back home, frustrating. The first thing that really made being back home frustrating was the language. I've explained a number of times that I've been forgetting a lot of English, a lot of things in the English language I've forgotten, or it's just like foreign to me because I don't use it that much. Being back home, I recognize just how bad that got over the past years, because communicating with people back in Jamaica was frustrating. Whether it was in English or it was in Patois, it was frustrating. In English, it was frustrating because I couldn't remember certain words. One of my friends there, we were having a conversation and he was like, "Your English sounds weird. You sound like someone that's like just learning how to speak English." I was speaking in English and in my mind, there were like these German words that I just wanted to spit out, and I was like, no, that's not the language I want. And so there were these pauses where I would be translating the German word. In some cases I just didn't know what the word was in English anymore. Patois, even worse. Before coming to Germany, Patois was not my strong suit. I mean, I always sounded weird speaking Patois, and being back home, it was even worse. Trying to speak Patois, especially the first 2 days that I was there, it was a challenge. In my mind, I just sounded weird, and I also sounded weird to the people that I was communicating with. They were looking at me like, the expressions that I was using and stuff, it just didn't sound the way that a Jamaican would actually speak Patois. There were people that were asking me, "Hey, where are you from?" Imagine you're a Jamaican and a Jamaican is gonna ask you, "Where are you from?" There were these situations where I really sounded like, you know, a tourist trying to learn and trying to speak Patois. Where I deal with it was just like, I wanted to blend in and to not be like an outsider or a tourist, but sometimes I just couldn't do better because my brain was like, yeah, we don't know how to do this. They weren't understanding me, and sometimes I wasn't understanding them. In a couple of days, I was kind of able to get back into the groove and I could actually speak Patois without many problems, and English also got a bit better. The second thing that was really frustrating was with my sinuses and with my asthma. Since I moved to Germany, this has not been a real problem for me because, of course, the climate and the fact that it's not that dusty, so I don't usually have sinus problems or problems with my asthma. Going back to Jamaica, hot, dry, dusty. The best combination for my sinuses to just go crazy, and that's exactly what happened. I spent most of the time with my family. Even when I was living there, I always had problems with my sinus. Going back home, it was like, welcome back Oshando, here we go. Pretty much every night, I would be rubbing like Vicks right below my nose. I just couldn't sleep well, and then my sinuses were inflamed, and I had headaches because of that and so on. When your sinuses are inflamed and you know you have the pressure in your head and in your face, even when they start draining and stuff, that's like even worse. Every single night I had problems with my sinuses and with my asthma, but it's also partially my problem. Maybe a week or so I was eating ice cream like every single day. I was happy when I got back to Germany and there wasn't like any dust and it was just cold because my sinus could just like calm right down. And even coming back, I recognized I'm still wheezing a bit. I probably should go to the doctor and get that checked out. The third and the final thing that made it really frustrating being home was feeling like an outsider. Growing up in this place that I called home and coming back, recognizing that most of the things that I'm familiar with, most of the things that I grew up knowing to be, you know, the Jamaican reality, and being back there and seeing that, okay, so many things changed. For example, with the infrastructure, with the culture, with the way people think, the way people communicate, I don't know if most of it is because of Corona, but there were just like a lot of different changes. Sometimes I just couldn't relate to the new realities that were normal in Jamaica. But there was just simple things like, for example, the mannerisms, the things that I grew up, for example, people being, you know, polite and hospitable. It was really this feeling where I was like, okay, this reality, I don't know about it, and I'm observing it and I'm learning how to adjust to it, and just even recognizing just how much I missed in the time that I was away, seeing my family members, for example, my cousins who now have children, or like my other cousins and all the people that I knew, just how quickly they grew up, people that didn't even recognize me anymore because they haven't seen me in forever, and I was wearing glasses and stuff, and they're like, wait, Oshando? I was going back home with this expectation of, you know, you're going home and everything's just gonna gel, you're gonna be at home, everything is gonna be familiar, everything probably similar to the way that you left it. Arriving there, and it was the opposite in so many ways. I really didn't enjoy that feeling, and probably that's a good motivation for me to go home more often. Despite the sinuses, despite the language, and despite being an outsider, I definitely enjoyed being back home. I made the best of it. The best part, family, friends, food. Yeah, those are the 3 F's that I love. The longer I take to go home, I think the more frustrating it's gonna be when I get there. Even though I was complaining pretty much every single day about the temperature, I was still enjoying at least all the sunshine that was there in comparison to back in Germany where it was cloudy and rainy. I'll still talk a bit more about some other things that I experienced while I was there, and some things that I was happy to experience again. But until then, see you in the next Jamaican Tales video.